On this episode of Halftone Takes, Adam confesses to his bad movie habits, Samwise Genji is goated, and Dave Filoni gets called out.
You better fucking believe it.
By Adam.
I'm coming for you.
Because he didn't talk to him
to
as
college.
a child.
I'll kill you.
Not for real. Please.
I believe in
Not for
Minecraft
real.
is the appropriate suffix to add. Hello, and welcome to Halftone Takes, high contrast conversations where we zoom out to see the big Nope, try that again.
Be the big shit.
To take a big shit. Fuck it. I am one of your co-hosts, Adam Bucheri, a.k.a. I fucked that up too. I am one of your hosts, Adam Bucheri, now in early access version 0.1.4. And with me, as always, is my co-host.
I am Corey Revis, a.k.a. the newest reboot.
Wait, like
from Disney.
The show reboot? Like the shitty 90s CGI show?
No.
Because there was a new reboot,
awesome.
Which is
wild. I know, but at the same time, that's not what I was talking about. I was getting ready to say, like, that show isn't shitty. That show's awesome.
I know. It's got its fans.
Yep.
Ugly show.
It's totally ooglat, but that doesn't mean it's not fun. Yeah. Speaking of fun, what are we talking about?
Well, speaking of
what are we having fun with?
Speaking of the newest Disney reboot, we are talking about getting cranky at media. This is one of peek behind the curtain. We've got a big old list of like possible topics that we have put down, and this was one of Corey's, which was going back in time to my cranky college days, where I was very critical about stuff, mostly for fun, and just kind of talking about that, like, hey, what's our relationship with negativity now as adults? Because I think it's changed quite a bit for both of us.
Oh, yeah.
As well as, inevitably, what are things that do still earn our ire?
Oh, yeah. Because it doesn't go away. Okay. We were talking a tiny bit off mic about this, but I used to always say this, is Adam... Well, back in the day, he would set up a Haterade stand, and he would just sell that to anybody he could see. Hey, have you heard about the latest stuff that I hate, and you should hate it too? Here. And he would, and I was like, of course I heard all of it, so I was like, okay. But I was also the opposite back then, is I tended to not hate on anything.
Mm-hmm.
And now, mind you, I was definitely playing myself because I ended up finding out that I did hate on stuff. I just didn't like getting angry, which I still don't. I still don't like being, like, negative about a lot of things. However, as an adult, I have become, I have begun to slide the other way towards, negativity. I'm not sticking there. I don't have a house there, but I'm definitely like, I've ventured to the other side of the tracks before. And I've gotten pretty salty about things. And mind you, we're talking about like media now. So movies, video games, TV shows, anything like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of what the shape of it is going to be. I'm not really sure where this is going to go, but I'm curious about it as we take a casual little sip of the old Haterade.
Yeah. Yes, we're not gonna be like, like kegging that nonsense. We're not gonna be like standing up upside down and like chug.
We're not gonna do a.
We're not
keg
gonna do
flip.
that. Yeah, we're not going to do that.
The incredibly dangerous keg flip.
Yeah. Because I honestly think there's enough of that, especially on the internet, and that gets real old real quick for me. But I guess that's part of the discussion that we're probably gonna have. So
Yeah. And the kind of the way that I'm breaching this topic is we're going to get to that specifically soon. But the first one is negativity fun? Like,
yeah.
I think we both know the answer of that for me in college was definitely yes.
Yeah.
But also it was, I don't know. I think that there's an element of, performance and trying on different hats and seeing how you like them on your head.
Yeah.
And I liked negativity for a while there.
Mm-hmm.
But for you, like, what was your relationship with it? Because you were really in pretty the opposite camp, where you were always actively trying to see the good in everything, actively trying to be positive and, wholesome and accepting.
Yeah. I think first off, I'm gonna say that I think that this particular question depends on who you are. It depends on the person as an individual, because if you are somebody, maybe like back in the day, like yourself, back in the day, I don't necessarily know how it is now. I think you've definitely mellowed out, obviously, but back in the day, you loved to argue. So of course, being negative is the easiest way to get into an argument. And I didn't like to argue. So I was like, eh. So and yeah, I definitely took a more like positive stance. And looking back, actually, it wasn't a lot of stuff actually wasn't that positive. It was actually more of a middling, which tends to be worse sometimes depending on what you're talking about. Yeah. And I realized that, obviously, like the older I got and the more experienced I got, the more I was like, you know what? I need to be a little bit more, not necessarily negative, but more forceful about my stance on things.
Yeah.
Like informed.
And also to just like expect more from things.
Because I realized that, yeah, you may be like, I still am in the camp of, okay, making things is hard. So
hard.
We can't think that people go out of their way to make bad things. You can't think that way. That's actually stupid, in my opinion. I'm like, don't do that. Don't, because, art as what it is super subjective. So somebody ain't gonna like this stuff that, like, the best Oscar winning whatever it is. Somebody's not gonna like it. But does that mean they're wrong in not liking it? Or does that mean that, it all depends on how they explain themselves. So I was like, you know what? I should more explain myself a little better. I'm still not gung-ho about being mad about stuff, but I understand that sometimes it's necessary because, like you were saying beforehand, if everything is middling, then that means no growth is going to happen because everybody's just taking it in. And I'm like, that's not good. Like, come on, guys, we can do better than this. I'm not one of those people that like yells, how dare they do this to us? Because obviously I'm an audience member. I don't have to engage with anything. However, if I do engage with something, especially if, I expect more, because that's a big thing with me. I expect more from you. What is this? And that's when I start getting a little like, oh, come on, give me a break. Why would I pay for this? You're better than this. And that's usually the stance I usually tend to take nowadays.
Yeah.
So
I'm very opposed to the how should I say it? I view the role as like media criticism and media discussion as like the evaluation of art and like how it relates to the culture. I'm really not a big fan of turning it into a purely consumer argument.
mm-hmm.
It's not just like a product review to me. It's very frustrating to me when like I see people talking about games and like, is this game good or not? And it's like, it would have been good, except they charged full price for it. And it's like, well, then you think it's good. Like, the cost of the thing is irrelevant, you know? If Breath of the Wild cost $1,000 to buy, it would be too expensive, and it maybe wouldn't be, you know, a good value proposition. Look, I was complaining about the lack of Resident Evil games coming to VR, and it's just like, oh, I bet Resident Evil 8 VR is going to be real rad. It costs $1,200 for me to buy the stuff needed to play it. That doesn't mean it stops being good, though. And I find those kind of arguments very frustrating. And like, maybe it feels like I'm talking to a straw man, but like, I see this conversation constantly about, you know, just treating art as a product and whether or not it is a good value per dollar.
Yeah. I think it has some things to do with our society as it is right now. Our society, our culture as it is right now is very consume everything. Even if you don't like it, consume it. The internet allows this to happen a lot quicker and a lot easier. So, you know, imagine how many people go out of their way to download a movie that they know is going to be bad just so they can watch it and say that it's bad. I'm like, what? Why would you do this?
But right. So
that is
let me talk
our
about
culture.
my history doing exactly that. Yeah, like I generally don't do it very often anymore. However, this is the other side of the coin. Is like riffing on movies is like a genre in itself.
Yes.
You know, Mystery Science Theater, riff tracks. Like
I was just about to say that riff tracks. What we used to watch heavy back in the day too.
Yeah,
and I think is hilarious.
Tons of good stuff.
I think it's so fun.
But also, like, it comes to mind, you know, like various cult classics are often appreciated not because of how good they are. You know, Tommy Wiseau's The Room. If you've ever been to a live showing of that and they've got like the props and the goofs and they're all doing stuff, like that's a ton of fun. Like, it's really fun to be in that kind of environment and to just revel in it. So for my particular sin in this regard, we have a friend who we invite over and we watch new Fantastic Beasts movies when they come out, because this is one of me. I can extrapolate later in the show, but like one of the things that like really does get my goat. That's the worst blockbuster movie franchise happening today. I really find them just absolutely poisonous. Beyond, you know, the fraught politics that surround it, but like also absolute dog shit movies, and it's really fun.
Jeez.
Really fun to get you know, a couple people in a room and just like roast something as it's happening. Yeah.
Jeez. I didn't know you went that hard on that stuff. I don't think they're that bad.
I genuinely think it's the worst. I don't think I can think of a worse major franchise.
Like, to date, or within like the past like 20 years?
Let's say within my adulthood. So yeah, last 20 years.
Adam has been an adult for 20 years.
Look, we're all turning into skeletons. Like, it's not news.
We're all turning into as if we're not skeletons already. Okay.
What a comforting thought.
Yep. We're all just skeletons that are being piloted by a brain. So, yeah.
Electric-powered skeletons. Electric meat.
Soon we're all going to be powered by gas. It's the reverse of what's going on.
I got enough gas already.
Well, then you're on your way. You can corner the market. You know what you did? But yeah. Well, you know what? That's like I said. That's very much. I kind of like. I'm 85% agreeing with that, because while I don't think they're the worst, those particular movies are the worst, I also don't necessarily think they're good either. And I think me and my wife, we actually talked about this not even. I'm telling you, not even like maybe like a couple days ago or something like that.
Mm.
And we're just like, eh. And she's a bigger Harry Potter fan than I am, but I was like, eh. But I actually know why, instead of just saying, oh, I don't like it, or I it's okay, it's good. I actually know why I do. Like, I'm not a big fan of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think mainly it's the characters to me. It's like nothing's really interesting except for the one guy who is like what, a muggle, and I was like, okay,
They do him
this is
so dirty. He's the
exactly
only charismatic performance in all of those movies. Okay, that's not true.
right.
Colin Farrell's good in the first one.
Oh, and then they
Uh,
get rid of him, and I was like, he would have been great as a bad guy,
so,
but
look, we could be here all day. We could do this whole episode on how much
I mean, it is the negative. I mean, it's the negative. You open the Haterade stand.
I know, but I want to.
That is
I
your
want to
main
be
attraction.
talking broader about
Yeah. Let's not
uh,
zoom in on one thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it can be fun to get like a hate watch party going for something that's real dumb.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also extremely possible to take that too far and to just
Yeah.
not have a good time. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I do feel like I'm less negative as a person, but also I do love a bad movie night.
Yeah. Well, I think, because I do like that too. I don't necessarily like going out of my way to watch something bad.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I will have a good time, because, and I guess that's the difference, is because you said something very important about you watching certain bad things.
Yeah.
And it is, you invite like friends over, and then you watch it as a group and have a good time with it. If you did that by yourself, you would just irritate yourself. So yeah, I think it definitely is an environmental thing too, because I would be way more inclined to watch bad movies or bad shows or something like that, anything like not necessarily good technically speaking,
Mm-hmm.
in a group than by myself. I don't think I could sit there and just be like,
Yeah, totally.
like hate watch something. Which, I mean, I don't know if that word actually came up yet, but hate watch is like a big thing that, I think it's a term. I don't know if a lot of people use it, but I know a lot of people do it. And I've said a lot of people do it.
I think there's a big difference in like intention and in what you get out of like hate watching versus a bad movie night party.
Yeah.
Like I'm not the kind of person who does this, and I really don't know anyone who does it either. So it makes it feel like I'm just talking about straw man, but like there's a kind of person who will just like sit in their room and watch a movie that they don't like for the purpose of complaining about the movie. And I'm well past that phase.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know about movies like that,
Mm-hmm.
but I know plenty of people that do that with video games.
Sure.
I know a lot of people that do that with video games, that will go out of their way. They have no intention of liking the product in the first place, or the video game in the first place, but they play it anyway, so they have things to say about it, and people can't come at them and say, you didn't even play it. It's like, well, actually I did. And yes, I am right, because I did play it. I played it 40 hours. I'm like, why would you play something for 40 hours that you don't like?
That's such a great question. And let me tell you, I am so good at just bailing on something that I'm not having fun with.
Ooh, let me tell you. Let me tell you about my philosophy on that. And I see it all the time. And I've said it to several people. And I even went so far as to comment. Yes, I said comment on certain YouTube videos. Not recently. This was like years ago. But I was like, guys, why would you put that much time into it if you don't like it? I'm telling you, I'm telling you 100%, I can play something for about an hour and know if I'm going to like it or not.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be into it. And I'm talking, this is like MMOs too. Massively multiplayer online games. Which I play a couple of.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you right now, I tried some of them, and I know I don't have to put 100 hours into a game, or even 50, or even 40, or even 30. I don't have to put that much time into a game to know, okay, this isn't going to be for me. It may, I don't know if it's going to be good or not, but it's not going to be for me at this point. Maybe I'll come back to it later, but for me, right now, I'm not into this. Or the opposite. Oh, I'm way into this. Maybe it gets more complicated later or something like that. But right now, I'm having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know how people, unless you have like a 10-hour tutorial, I don't know how anybody can be like, I played 50 hours of this game, and I can tell you unequivocally, I don't even know how to say it. You know what I mean. Audience members, you know what I mean.
Straightforward.
Yeah, I was about to say that. But yeah, I can tell you then I 100%, I'm like, you know, how can somebody do that and be like, oh, I this game is bad. And I'm like, well, then why are there so many people playing it or something like that? Or just, this game is bad to you. Now, there's a difference between it being bad and it being broken. So.
For sure.
So, but I don't know.
Also, like, how... now we're just getting into like subjectivity soup of like, Fallout New Vegas is broken as fuck. And yeah.
Okay, let's just step away a little bit farther away from like the subjectivity soup. Mm-hmm. Because that's a whole different thing on its own.
Yeah, we if we list every exception to like what we're trying to talk about, we'll be here all day.
Yeah. But but going back to the original point of, is negativity fun? It depends on the person, and it depends on the environment, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I know that's not a definitive answer, but too bad, people. This is what you're getting from me. So
die angry, haters. Yeah. So you touched on it before, but like I was going to loop into like capital D, the discourse. Sometimes something big comes out and everyone's talking about it and everyone has an opinion on it and you feel like you want to be a part of the discussion. It's something that you're kind of interested in, or you're interested in stuff surrounding it. And so it's just like, well, maybe I'll just watch this thing that I hate so that I can have an opinion on it. Mm-hmm. And like, I've definitely been guilty of that. You know, I did exactly what I was complaining about earlier, where it's just like, I watched all of Zack Snyder's Justice League by myself after my wife had gone to sleep in like, across 4 days. Like, and like, it was fine, man. Like, I don't know, like, it certainly wasn't worth any of this, any of the stuff that was surrounding it.
I thought you were going to say something different, but hey, we are in agreement. It was fine, man. Like,
it's like, congratulations. You took like one of the, a movie that was about as bad as Batman v Superman, which I don't like.
No, I don't like that either.
And you made it about as good as Age of Ultron, which I'm pretty lukewarm on. Like, yeah, all right. People were campaigning for years on this garbage, and there was so much like malice and harassment and like absolutely indulging like the worst of fandoms, and they finally got exactly what they wanted, and it was fine. Just like extremely not worth it to me, and I do not envy someone who got their ego and their personality tangled up in the necessity of this absolutely mid-tier superhero film by a director who's excellent as a cinematographer and not very good as a storyteller.
Yeah, who knew? Who knew? But at the same time, what you just said, is kind of a problem I see, like a general problem
Mm-hmm.
for, I get, like, just anybody. I was gonna say for consumers, for the general audience, but it's for everybody. Like for filmmakers, for artists, for creatives, and for the general audience themselves. I think that's just a problem of us being the opposite of what I used to do all the time, where see kind of the good that can come out of almost anything out there or anything out there. And because, like you said, it's like, yeah, Zack Snyder, his stuff at least looks cool, but as a storyteller, he can put certain people together to make it look good. But we don't go to him for the drama of the year. And
he
that's
certainly
fine.
can tint the camera blue and play a sad cover of a pop song while things happen in slow motion. Like, he certainly can do that.
Let me tell you. Okay, this is my halftone take for the episode, but I think the best example of that is that movie he made with the girls.
Sucker Punch.
Yeah, Sucker Punch. I I happen to love that movie, and I have no idea what it's about.
Yeah,
but it looks cool. It has cool action sequences. It has pretty awesome ideas. It has an entire steampunk, army part of it. It has a robot part of it, fight or something like that. A lot of stuff is happening all over the place all the time. It has Oscar Isaacs acting a fool, which is hilarious. But I don't know what that movie's generally about. I mean, I could probably figure it out if I watched it intently. But I'll tell you right now, I went to go see that movie in theater, and I was like, this is awesome. I didn't even focus. I was my eyes went my eyes got real, my pupils got dilated and everything, and I was like, this is cool.
I had a little bit of dental anesthetic before I went, and it was great.
Hey, sometimes you need that. What happened? As that happened, I enjoyed myself. I didn't feel like I wasted my money until people came to me later and said, "You like this? How can you like this? You suck. You're a horrible person. You should go and die." And I'm like, "What? I just enjoyed myself, man." He's like, "Well, why did you enjoy it? Go back and look at it again, and you're gonna see the script sucks. Nobody can act. It has this and this person in it. Why are they in this movie?" And I'm like, and I literally now back then, I would have went and cried in the corner and been like, I am a horrible person for thinking this. Nowadays, I'm like, well, that's just your opinion, man. I'm like, okay. That's fine. It's not going to hurt me. I'm the one that spent my money. So what do you want? I spent my money and my time, and I had a good time. I don't care what you did. I just don't care.
That's extremely valid. Counterpoint.
Uh-oh.
That movie's extremely bad.
oh, man. I mean... I'm not gonna here's the thing. I'm not gonna deny that it's it's not a good script or something,
but here's the thing that I heard someone phrase it this way, that the vast majority of arguments are really just disagreements over the meaning of words.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm over here talking about the quality of the art that's on display is not good enough to me. There are problems here. I think it's got a fairly vile worldview. I'm glad that you didn't pick up on it, because I don't like it. And
no, I okay. Back then I didn't. Mm-hmm. Now I do, but my care level is still relatively high when it relatively low when it comes to this, and But
you're still allowed to feel however you feel about it. I super don't want to take that away from you, and that's not what I'm trying to do. what I was trying to say was just that, like, you know, I'm talking about evaluating it like in a vacuum as art standalone, and you're talking much more about the experiential nature of just like I ignored the parts that I didn't like, and I enjoyed the spectacle. And if I wanted a movie that had cool cinematography and fun fight scenes, this was that, and it succeeded in that regard. And like, that's not wrong. We're just having the only issue at play is that, like, those are two different conversations.
Yeah.
And they get conflated a lot. And that's where, like, so much of the problems come in.
Oh, that's where the capital D word comes in.
Yeah.
The discourse. And it's funny because going back, because we were talking about the olden days, that was, I guess, I don't want to say it's a problem, but it was the biggest thing between me and you as people. Is we said a lot of the same stuff, but in a different way. We came at it from different angles. And we still kind of do that, but it was extreme angles back then.
The best way that I have to describe what would happen constantly would be that we would agree very angrily.
Yeah.
We'd be very cranky and be like, great, I think the same thing. Good, I'm glad we spent 2 hours feeling the same way.
Yeah, basically. Relatively. There were a couple of things that we were just like,
Often a difference of degrees, where it's just like, you know, we both acknowledge a problem. I think it's more of a big deal than you do. And like, that would be...
Yeah.
Well, all right, I guess that's where we stand.
Yeah, and you know what? That's fine. I think that's what a lot of people need to feel that they can do nowadays is be in, you know, I'm not necessarily saying opposing sides. You could just disagree about a couple of things, but be okay that people disagree with you and that you disagree with other people, and say, you know what though, that's fine. Okay, I understand, because this is what the podcast is all about, though, is understanding. It's understanding. Do you understand? And you know what's funny? Like, this is a little bit of a side, but I was reading like a little bit ago, and it's talking about how people, like over in the West, have a hard time arguing because in a lot of other places in the world where they have very opposing sides, they argue better in a way because they understand that it's not about convincing people. It's about getting people to understand.
Yeah.
And over here, we have a hard time getting people to understand because we are too busy trying to convince people of that we're right, or our side is best, or this is the best way for, you know, for certain things or whatever. This is how you make certain things. This is the blueprint. And yet life doesn't end up being like that. Life gives so many surprises. And now I'm going to circle back to making things, being creative, making movies and stuff. There are so many surprises that people don't even, you know, like don't even see coming. Like everything, everywhere, all at once. Nobody thought that was going to be anything. And yet it was the biggest surprise that in a long time. And it was doing something different. Nobody was like, now the studio, or some studios, let's hope not, but some studios are inevitably going to see that and be like, that's the blueprint. Make everything like that. And I'm like, that's the wrong way to go. Let's not do that.
Yeah, that seems unlikely that they'll learn the right lessons.
I mean, but that's studio people that see dollar signs, and that always happens because there is money to be made. But, you know, it's I think the biggest thing that people, including myself, and, you know, I'm, you know, obviously have been getting better at it over time, and it more or less is in the mind rather than I mean, it's the opposite. It's in the mouth, not necessarily in the mind, because I always had that mindset, but I never vocalized that mindset a lot until, you know, as I got older. Like, I'm very, a lot more vocal about active listening to people, active listening to not only their side, but their perspectives of stuff. And this definitely comes with, like movies and stuff too. Like especially like just stuff that's coming out recently with reboots. And I just saw something where people are seriously starting to complain about the new Peter Pan and Wendy movie that's coming out. And I'm like, are you guys crazy? Are you guys serious? Like, why? Like, it's on Disney Plus. Like, it's not even in the theaters. Why do you guys care?
It's like, also a shame that it's getting kind of middling reviews because it's, I believe it's the director of The Green Knight. And I was like, oh, he's going to do something weird with it.
Yeah, and I recently saw that too, where it's like, people are just like, meh on it. And I'm like, that's a shame. However,
I've talked about this, but not on the podcast. I saw The Green Knight in theaters. It was the first post-COVID movie that I saw. Post-COVID, whatever that means. But yeah, so much of like whether or not you like media, it comes down to expectations and like calibrating them appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, extremely funny to be in a movie theater with someone who clearly thought that he was in some kind of badass action movie. Because there's the moment where Dev Patel eats some hallucinatory mushrooms and sees a vision of the Green Knight haunting him. And there was a person in front of us who, like, in a pretty loud voice went like, "Ooh, you're gonna get it." It's like, what movie do you think you're watching?
Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing is, like, this is what people expect. And especially if you don't know about the Green Knight, which is, a certain piece of media adapted from something else. So
it's not obscure, but like, there are plenty of people who just didn't learn about it in school or whatever, and aren't familiar with the story. Particularly because it is so subversive of the original story. Like it's in conversation with the actual legend, so familiarity with the source material like is valuable for having a meaningful read of the film.
Yeah, it's a very interesting conversation that people should have. Not an argument, a conversation. People should have a conversation about these things. Not necessarily about, oh my goodness, my eyes have been opened, unclouded by hate. But at the same but you do learn some things. And then you're like, you know what? I understand. Because that is my catchphrase for a lot of stuff is, excuse me, I'm not necessarily into that, but I can understand why people are.
Totally. And that's like such a useful piece of vocabulary of just being like, not for me, but I get it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna fucking play Rocket League, but I get it.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. And you know what though? And then that produces the legendary E word, empathy. Oh boy. Ooh. Get some of that into your veins. I'm dead serious.
It's very good.
It produces that. And then you're like, oh, so I am not mad about it anymore because I get it. It may not be for me, but I get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, see? And that's how they get you. So.
In their sinister plot.
To make things better.
Yeah. Yeah, so, like, I feel like we've covered, like, a lot of the big, broad overview things. I do want to give a special shout-out. I don't know if it's in the Hall of Fame or the Hall of Shame or both, but for me personally, when it came to how I discussed media, I can say with confidence that the Red Letter Media Star Wars reviews, like, were very influential to me.
Yeah.
And, like, I think those are like still hold up quite well, questionable frame story aside.
Yeah, absolutely. I was like, okay, I always thought that was weird, but
it's very weird. But like, I gotta admit, like, not all of the jokes, but like a lot of those jokes landed for me at the time. And like, it was so different than anything I had seen at the time. And it was
Mm-hmm.
over the top in its negativity. But it
Yeah.
also genuinely, like, was very insightful in a lot of places. It genuinely was good media criticism, especially for the medium, especially at the time.
Yeah.
It changed how a lot of people talked about those movies, and a lot of them were just parroting the points back, not
Mm-hmm.
terribly productive or interesting. But I think that it was like a meaningful step in me, like, looking at media more critically. So,
Mm-hmm. And you know what? I will say that about me as well. I remember watching those and thinking they're like hilarious. And while I didn't agree with like a couple of things, for the most part, I was like, yeah. But I think the thing that made it the funniest is, I mean, the best digestible
mhm.
for me, is the fact that it was funny. It was genuinely funny. Like I still remember the "What is wrong with your face?" I was like, "See, that's what I thought when I watched this
Mhm.
movie." So, yeah, and it gets the conversation going. And I've been seeing a lot of people having conversation about those movies, obviously, because Star Wars always gets brought up like T minus a couple years, and then Star Wars is back in the conversation again.
Mhm.
But I will say, like it for the prequels and everything like that. On especially the Phantom Menace, because that is the most notorious one in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um, like there are certain things in that movie that actually make it egregious, and I'm like,
Yeah.
but I will still say that some things, like a handful of things, they hit perfect. And I was like, see, this is the spirit of this. Now,
Totally.
mind you, people take the wrong lessons from those. I am, of course, talking about the final, like the Duel of the Fates.
Yep.
Really cool, still really cool. Awesome. Music's perfect. The stakes are pretty high. The payoff's good and everything like that. And I was like, okay, fine. That's fine. But you know, I obviously people take, oh well, then all lightsaber duels have to be like that. I'm like, okay, that's
Yeah, extremely
that's
no.
not what. Yeah, that's not what we meant. But and what I had to hear, and for me personally, this is what I had to hear for me to start accepting that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Is I had to hear from people that liked the media too, that said, no, I am a fan. I've been a original fan. I know this stuff. I love this stuff. And I can say this is trash.
Mhm.
And this is why. Because this doesn't feel like it. This doesn't not only does it not feel like this, but as a from a filmmaking standpoint, this, and this. As with other, and they wouldn't just say because I said so, because it's like they would compare it to other more well-known Star Wars, beloved Star Wars properties, and they're like, yeah, but why does this do this over here and it works better? And they
Yep.
tried and they did something here and they didn't do it. They didn't follow this, and this is why it doesn't hit as well. This is why nobody likes like pod racing. This is why dialogue doesn't work and everything like that. Why do they need this scene? Why do they need that scene? Like, and then
Totally.
the more I thought about it, the more I was like, yeah, why do they need that? Because I wasn't, and I remember, because what I ended up really realizing is as I'm watching this stuff, I had to look inside myself a little bit and say, okay, as I was watching this, was I enthused? Or did it just leave me as the scene, like when the scene ended or
Mhm.
something? Did I remember this the way it was intended to be remembered? And I was like, a lot of these things, I was like, no. Oh my goodness. It is bad. Because it's not eliciting the reaction that it's supposed to.
Yeah, it's not accomplishing its goals. It's not
Yes.
succeeding in
Yes.
what it's trying to do. Um Yeah, my 5-second opinion on that is that like the prequel trilogy like has some merits. Like there are some things that I think it totally rules. I think the soundtrack is unassailable. Maybe my favorite John Williams stuff in there. Really, really cool
Oh,
leitmotifs
really?
that like
Wow.
weave in and out. Yeah, real into that John Williams score. I think really strong stuff. Some of the set pieces are cool. A lot of the art direction and costumes are really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars Episode 2 has almost no merits as art. It's so rough.
Oh, I
have
know.
no fun with it.
I know.
Absolutely zero fun with it. It's
This
poisonous
is what
to me.
always happens. It always comes back to me, huh? See, you're wrong in this, Corey. You are the wrong one. I'm like, come on, man.
No, I'm saying that like, look, I can only be true to me. You can only be true to you.
Yeah. I gotta be me. I am's what I am's. And you know what?
Gotta
Though,
be me.
I understand. Like, jokes aside, I completely get it. Because you're not the only one that's told me that. And I'm like, I 100% get it. I understand that it is not good. Because looking back at it, the story is all over the place. I complain about that. Okay. I complain about, like, Avatar, how I should complain about that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking The Last Airbender, the live action movie, Last Airbender.
Beloved
Pacing.
live action movie, The Last Airbender.
That is the movie that I started to realize that pacing.
Oh, pacing's so important.
I appreciate pacing more. I take it for granted because in that movie, it's really, really bad. And
yeah,
here's the thing. Attack of the Clones has the same problem. It is really bad at pacing.
Yeah. The rhythm of that movie is really rough to me.
Yeah. And, you know, I completely see that. I completely see that some of the dialogue in that movie, in fact, a lot of the dialogue in that movie is just like, really? Really? It's funny out of context, but in context, it's not.
Yeah.
So, in a lot of that movie, most of that movie, I would say, in context, it's not good. Out of context is meme. It's like meme territory.
Yeah.
Prime meme territory. And I don't think that, while that is entertaining, a good film that does not make. So I understand that.
Yeah. I feel like that's a very modern internet kind of thing to happen where like there's the conflation between I'm able to meme it and it actually being, standing on its own.
Yeah. And standing on its own, it is very haphazard. And I realize that. But also I can also realize that I love I am being 100% serious with this, is I love the creativity in that movie. Yes, it is all over the place, but I love the expansive nature of it, where things happen, things have happened, things are happening right now, and things are probably going to happen, all because of this whole thing that's going on in this one film. Now, mind you, people would then say, well, what's going on in this film? And I'm like, man, I don't want to explain. I know what's going on, but is it good? No.
It's just a bunch of stuff mostly.
And that's the entirety of it. You hit it right on the head. It's just a bunch of stuff. Stuff is happening, but it's a bunch of stuff.
And that's
there's no through line.
That's so exhausting to me because I feel like the fundamental crux of it is that if you're going to make a whole prequel trilogy about Anakin Skywalker and his fall to the dark side, you just did a bad job of doing that. I don't feel like it does.
Well,
it doesn't sell it well.
Think about it. You didn't even have to have the middle. If you're talking about that, because that you hit it right on the head too, is I realized that this whole prequel trilogy is about the rise of Anakin Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really need the middle movie? You could have literally skipped it If you think about it.
You could skip the first one too. Like,
well, I mean, you could skip the first one. I'm using air quotes. But I'm talking like pacing wise is okay. Yeah, while the first one is bad, but we at least get little Annie, to a point where he's like, okay, I at the end of the movie, it's stupid, but at the same time, at the end of the movie, we know it's him and what's his name, Kenobi. It's him and Kenobi, and they're on their own now. They're the ones that are gonna have the adventures. You could literally skip the entire second movie and then go to, oh, they've already had a lot of adventures. They have the camaraderie, and now we're at the point where Anakin starts getting crazy.
Yeah, we're at the point where it starts mattering. And like,
yeah,
there are some steps taken in episode 2, not nearly enough, and not nearly.
Yeah, absolutely.
It feels like it's barely what the movie is about.
The movie, you know why? Because the movie is not about.
but that's the whole point.
Yeah, that's the whole point. That's the whole point. And while I enjoy the fact that some of the stuff is really cool, I do realize that this isn't. None of this is like actually really important. Yes, do I like seeing Mace Windu do cool stuff? Do I want to see him do more cool stuff? Yes. Does it have any bearing on what is actually happening with Anakin? No.
Do I want to see Mace Windu do cool stuff? Well, I guess I better watch the Genndy Tartakovsky 2D animated Clone Wars.
And what do you know? That stuff is awesome. Everybody claims that stuff is awesome. It's still awesome. That is the problem.
So cool.
It's still awesome. It endured. And what endures from the prequels?
Hey.
All the silly shit. So we're going back to your point. Was the goal accomplished?
I'm gonna take a digression. I'm grabbing control of the podcast.
You're grabbing control of the Haterade station.
Hey, Dave Filoni, what the fuck? Because you, like both of us, were an alumni of Edinburgh University of Pennsylvania.
No, we're calling you out, buddy.
You came to our college and you did a lecture in front of us, and you were like, hey, if you guys make it up to San Francisco, hit me up. I'm always happy to talk with alumni and give a tour of LucasArts or whatever. And so, after I graduated, I did just that, and you were impossible to get a hold of. And it was some real bullshit. Up to and including me talking to, like, your retired teacher who lived there, and me having been told that was a connection that I could get to you. And then he was like, yeah, that's basically not going to work. He's too much of a big shot now.
Jeez. So basically you're saying that Dave Filoni sucks because he wouldn't talk to you.
So I've got a little bit of a chip on my shoulder about that. And also, your 3D Clone Wars show is only okay. I watched some of it. It was mostly fine.
It gets better towards
I know people
the middle
like
towards
it,
the end.
But you ain't Genndy Tartakovsky.
Hey, Genndy is one of my all-time favorites. So
he's incredible.
I always follow his stuff, and I always will claim that his 5-minute Clone Wars miniseries is the best. It's the
genuinely
best.
Really up there in terms of like quality Star Wars content. Like, I think it's better than almost anything.
Yeah, I will agree. I agree. It is the best. And another reason is because that's what I saw. Like, going back to like the prequels, Clone Wars, the movie, the live action movie. I was like, when Genndy did the miniseries on the Clone Wars, I was like, this is what I imagined. This is what I saw.
Yeah.
Somebody understands me.
This is how sick Star Wars could be.
Yes.
And then everyone who came afterwards looked at it and said, no.
I do not wish that.
No, I don't want it to be sick as hell. I don't want to use the Force in cool and unusual or creative ways. I don't want anyone to use lateral thinking to get out of a problem. I don't want anyone to use a lightsaber to do anything other than be a sword.
Yeah, I don't want to see stakes.
I don't like stakes.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I don't. Stakes were crazy in that show. So I was like, this is where my haterade comes from, is wasted potential. Because like I said, that's what I saw and I always imagine when I saw the original Clone Wars movie. I was like, oh man, this would be so cool. I wish I saw more of that. Oh, I wish I got into more of that and everything. Oh, Dooku is cool, and he said he trained a whole bunch of people. I want to see all of them. Where are they? What is he doing? Why is he even worried about these people? And type stuff. I'm like, okay, where are all the Jedi? What are all they doing? Like,
yep.
Has anybody even killed a Jedi? How do you do it? You can't just... Yeah, I know they showed this huge Jedi battle, and then, you just shoot enough. You shoot
so
like a laser
awful.
enough you shoot a laser enough at like a Jedi, and apparently they die. I'm like, no, it can't be that easy. That's stupid. Where are like the top tier ones?
The real answer as to how to kill a Jedi is with a AK-47, because a high volume of physical projectiles can't be stopped by a lightsaber.
Yeah, well, they can just stop it with the Force, though, because, But at the same time, like, we're getting into the weeds of things, too, because I was like, a lot of that is explained or answered in the 5-minute, like, Clone Wars miniseries. Why and that ups the stakes. Like, that makes General Grievous an actual terror.
God, he's
and
so cool in that.
Yeah, and it makes him an actual terror. And I'm like, no wonder everybody's just scared of him. And he's got this huge reputation. And I was like, but no, you guys got to do some weird shit.
But that came from Lucas, though. He was like,
yeah, exactly.
They misunderstood me. I always wanted him to be like a shitty Skeletor. I wanted him to like, next time, He-Man. Like, that's what he wanted from Grievous.
And you know what, though? Here's the thing. And this goes back to what we were doing, because I'm rounding it back out, because I know we want to go to like other points, but I don't like that, but I understand him, because he has always been like that.
Like Lucas, like more than anything else, is always aligned to like, I want to recapture the feeling of adventure serials when I was young.
Yes.
So it's all this like nostalgic throwback stuff, and it's got Buck Rogers, and it's got Flash Gordon in there, and like
admirable. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of this is admirable.
I get all of that. Like, I do, but also it's the same problem that I have with like lore in Dungeons and Dragons. Where it's like some people really like to crack open source books and really like to hear about like history and context. But like the world of Dungeons and Dragons is so vast that it contains everything that's ever existed. It contains Medusas and Minotaurs and Banshees and like yokai, and also robots and ancient civilizations and UFOs and everything, multiverse, astral plane, the City of Doors. Like, it contains so much that it's impossible for it to be about anything. Like, it's just this big soup of stuff.
Unless you scale it down and tell individual stories, which is what they've been doing lately. And then people are like, oh, this feels fresh and new and stuff. And I'm like, technically it's not, but at the same time, you're not wrong. Because all this stuff is here. But this is why people are so sick of the Skywalkers. Because that's all that Star Wars has been. But that's not all Star Wars is. So let us do what you're saying, like the whole D&D thing. It's like individual stories, that's why they're fun. It's because people are having their own adventures, off doing their own thing in the universe. It's not about them saving the whole thing. It's just about them having their own little thing. and you tell the right stories. I mean, you put the right people to tell the right stories, and then you get magic. But Lucas, unfortunately, has a hard time of letting go of the reins. He just wants it his own way. And to be fair, he has said a couple times, yeah, I fucked that up. But, it's rare.
See, I don't know. Like, I don't know how much I want to fault him, because, like, I think if he... I think it's worth talking about, like, the strengths and weaknesses of creative people, where, I'm saying, like, Zack Snyder, great cinematographer, not a good storyteller. I think that's true. But, like, he would... if he collaborated with the right people and he was allowed to focus on the visuals, I think that something genuinely really cool could come out of it. I feel
absolutely.
Similarly about Michael Bay, where it's just like, don't let this man touch a script. Just put him behind a camera.
And he'll do his job.
Yeah.
And he'll love it.
He does good work there. But he's just so misanthropic that it poisons the well for whatever he's making. I think Lucas obviously has a great, creative output. He has a very specific aesthetic and flavor, but he needs to work with people. Like, he's not good in isolation. Like, when he's allowed to indulge his worst impulses, the work suffers.
I think, first of all, I agree with you. Second, I think all directors and creatives should be like that.
Yeah.
I think we said this in a previous episode, but having a diverse crew is very good. It's nothing but the best. Some of the best directors, or at least not necessarily the best directors, but directors that we both appreciate, do this. Because I was going to comment, like, of course you're naming like Michael Bay and Zack Snyder, people that creatives generally are like almost joke about and not think about in a very like critical manner.
I'm
they're
specifically
just the jokes.
Calling them out as to say that, like, I'm in the camp that doesn't love their work, but like they're far from meritless. Like,
yeah. Well, like I said, I didn't think you were doing that. I just think a lot of people might, a lot of people expect that, like, oh, what those guys. But I would say the same thing about somebody like Peter Jackson.
Yep.
He made the Lord of the Rings trilogy and all a bunch of other stuff, but everybody remembers him as that. And he didn't necessarily do that alone. He didn't have like complete death grip on the reins of that movie. Yes, he had a lot of input. It has Peter Jackson's stamp right on the cover. However, he got a lot of input from
he surrounded himself with incredibly talented people.
Yes, and that pushed it. That pushed it to legendary status. Because like everybody, well, not everybody, but maybe if you're in the know, you know about that legendary like conversation that him and what's his name, who played Saruman?
Christopher Lee.
Yeah, Christopher Lee. That conversation that they had, where it's like, Christopher Lee was like, hey, you know what it's like to be stabbed? Because I do. He's like, you don't sound like this. You sound like this. And everybody jokes about that, but that is genuine input that he had in the acting, in how it was going to look, in how the scene was framed and everything. And that counts. We should not just say, oh, they're doing this, they made this movie and they're bad. How about we say, okay, that wasn't good because they're good at this and they instead tried to do this. If we added this person and this person to this group, they could make something incredible.
It's like the refutation of auteur theory. It's just like, oh, if Hidetaka Miyazaki was in a room by himself, he would make the greatest video game of all time. And it's like, probably not, actually.
Yeah, probably not. And I'm pretty sure he would say that himself, he's always He's always surprised that things do good. I always think that's really hilarious. Like, he's like, I didn't even know this was going to be that good.
Mm-hmm.
We just threw stuff together. I didn't even, when he gave his speech for, like, Game of the Year for, like, Elden Ring, he was like, guys, I didn't even know. Like, I didn't know it was going to be this popular. We're probably not going to be able to do this again.
Uh-oh, says Miyazaki.
Yeah. He's like, uh-oh, it's good. But yeah, I mean, but I mean, that's the thing, is he's very humble about it too, which is pretty, funny too. But yeah, it's like, it's not just him. He's surrounded himself with people that are just good at what they do. And, of course, these people go off to make their own projects and stuff, but I always think of stuff with, like, Capcom. Capcom does that all the time. They have their people that worked on certain things with certain games, and they're like, you know what? We need you over here because this needs your touch.
I mean, that's just
like,
that's just how most things work. Is like yeah, people like switch between projects and like teams form and dissolve and like intermingle and like all that's cool and good.
Networking.
Yeah.
What do they always tell you in school? Networking. That is going to get you a job.
Yeah.
What, you think your talent is going to get you a job? Get out of here. No, who do you know? I don't know anyone. No people.
Then you done fucked up then, didn't you?
Yeah. Go talk to somebody. I don't want to. I didn't say you talk about anything interesting. I said talk.
And like it feels silly, but like networking is just making friends with interesting people who have cool friends of their own.
Yeah.
And like that is a good thing. You should do that. One of my friends is a big fan of a small indie game studio that releases primarily full motion video games.
Oh, that's kind of awesome.
It's very specific. But she is a big fan of, this one actor who is in it, and then just reached out to him and like now just chats with him. Like is just friends with this person who she thinks is cool. Like
that's nice. Yeah. That's neat.
It doesn't take a lot. You can just do stuff.
You never know who you'll meet and you'll come into contact with, and you'll be like, I never knew that, one, this person would ever talk to me, and two, that how normal they are. Now, mind you, they could very well be not, and just be mean or something, but you'd be surprised who is like, no, man, I poop like a regular man. And I could just,
yeah, that's just kind of how it is. Like, everyone's just people, pretty much across the board. And also, small teams, small studios, they love it if you reach out and just chat with them. Like, they're over the moon to talk about whatever bullshit. I would like somewhat frequently send emails to like indie game studios and would get responses back from the people who made it, and just like, oh, cool, thanks for reaching out to us. And that's
really neat, actually.
It is cool.
That's actually really neat and wholesome.
Like I didn't turn those into anything, special, but like, it didn't turn into relationships. It didn't turn into a job. It didn't turn into anything, but like, it's cool to do that, to reach out to people and make those connections. Cause like creatives are just people, man. We're all just people.
And also it feels, I always thought it feels good to get those when you're creating something and you may get discouraged or something at some point, and you're just like, what is the point and stuff. Like, you never know how, since they are just people, they very well may feel that way. And getting a good, encouraging email from somebody, just some rando, that says, you guys are awesome and you're doing a great job, that boosts so much confidence. I mean, I'm joking, but at the same time, I'm straight up not joking.
No, not
because,
at all.
It feels good to not only gift that to people, to genuine people, but to receive it. So it's like, why not just us as a collective just start doing that with creatives? Who knows? We might start getting better products and better things because people are realizing that, you know what? Maybe I should ask for help, and it's okay that I don't know everything. Maybe I don't have to. Maybe I can just do what I do best and have this other person that I respect and love come in and handle their stuff and everything, and we can make a great product together that we can all appreciate and love, and that we can I made another friend, and I get to work with people that I actually enjoy working with, and that actually enjoy working not only with me but on projects that they want to see happen. You wouldn't believe how many, this is kind of like a little bit of an aside, but you wouldn't believe how many people that I've talked to, professionals that I've talked to, that they said, oh yeah, I had to work on that and I hated working on it, but it was a job and I didn't I just had to rather than want to. At the same time, this is the problem. Because we're talking about negativity right now too, and it's just I just saw something today about people complaining about a game that I'm looking forward to, that I saw that's coming out. A trailer recently came out for This is probably not going to age well with future episodes, but the new Armored Core game is coming out soon, sooner than I expected, and I was like, this looks awesome. Why? Because I remember playing these on PS2. Yeah! And I was like, yeah, boy, let's go. And, of course, I had to look at the comments. And I was like, why did I do this? Now I feel bummed. But it's because people are just complaining, oh, they're gonna take stuff away, or they're going to add stuff. You know what's funny? Because I saw a lot of old school Armored Core veterans complaining about it, saying, oh, great, now all these Dark Souls, crazies are going to come into my game and try to ruin it and put all they're just going to make it Dark Souls with mechs and stuff, and it's not that. It's this and this. And I'm like, I hear what you're saying, though. I get it, because I thought that way too until I watched a video. I read an article from a Japanese fan of Armored Core.
Can you believe it? A fan from Japan?
Yeah. They exist?
Unthinkable.
They do exist.
Dovahkiin.
Yeah. But yeah, I was like, and I read, and he's like, I am welcoming all the new additions that they're gonna, from the director, it sounds like they're gonna just keep it still Armored Core and everything like that, but they're gonna add elements that have been long added, long wanting for a while. And also, you guys forget that Armored Core reboots itself every 2 games. So shut up. It's gonna be fine. It's going to be fine. We're all gonna be fine. We're all gonna have a good time. And it's a single player game with a multiplayer arena. So you don't even have to play with anything else. Play with anybody else. Just play how you want to play. Ignore the haters. Ignore all the people on the internet. Just have a good time.
Well, also, just prejudging stuff is so exhausting.
Oh boy.
I feel like this definitely falls into not the media critical category. This is the hater category. This is for people who are not productive members of the discourse.
Yeah.
Something looks like it's not going to be for you. Right? It's this thing that I loved. Metroid Prime Federation Force is coming out. Finally. And
okay.
As a fan of that series, does that suck? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna not play it. I'm not gonna think about it again.
What a concept.
It's really easy.
What a concept. Just not playing something or not engaging with something that you don't like. Who knew?
And my personal philosophy that I've talked about before, which I feel is a really great philosophy, is things that I like are canon and things that I don't like are canon. and I just ignore things I don't like. And it serves me so well. Because if someone is just like, I fucking hated Rise of Skywalker, and now I gotta think about all those plot points when I write, my fan fiction. No, that makes it sound like I'm making fun of like fan fiction writers, which is like not my intention. But like people
that's straight up his intention. Don't listen.
Okay. But like, people who are going to take this so seriously, think about all the lore implications. They're like, oh, now I gotta force healing into my worldview? This is unacceptable. Like, are you okay? Hey, guy. Hey, straw man. You doing okay? It doesn't sound like it. I'm concerned for you.
Yeah. Well, you always go, like, how you're feeling right now is, I'm concerned for you is like, dude, chill. Like, not to you, but to that person or that whatever.
Yeah.
Is that group is chill. Do you feel good about feeling how you're feeling right now?
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, it's no. Well, then why are you feeling it?
Like, negativity in a very sincere way, can be habit forming. Mm-hmm. And that sucks. It's a knee-jerk problem.
That goes into the knee-jerk reaction is, I need to feel this way. Why? Because I gotta. Why? Explain yourself, critic.
Well,
Why?
Because I've wrapped a lot of my personality up into this thing. And
that's not a good plan.
And then if
you don't like it when anybody else does it, so why do you do it? If the media is bad,
it reflects poorly on me.
Do you and I always literally do this to people too, because I'm like, do you tolerate that with any other fandom? And they're like, no. Well, then why are you doing it to yourself?
Yeah, it's not a good look.
Yeah, like, it's not. It doesn't feel good. It's not good for morale. It's not good for your intelligence, because then you start looking non-critically about things, because believe me, that actually happens. When you are already hating, you can't see, like, you get, instead of rose-tinted glasses, you get hate-tinted goggles.
Yeah.
You get the hate goggles on. It's filled with rage. You need to look at things unclouded by hate. Look at things unclouded by hate. And you will, and just free of judgment, and just go, okay, I can sit back and look at this critically, because that's how we actually want to look at things critically. Instead of looking at things with hate is the same as looking at things with like nostalgia, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but people equate nostalgia with just unbridled, like unadulterated love. And I'm like, yeah, that's not what that means, but I get the concept.
It's a more pure good because it hit me at like this formative time in my childhood.
Yeah.
And I feel like it can be couched in other language, but like that's really kind of what the argument is. And I'm not interested in the argument. And also, like, I don't believe that it helps to produce happiness. Ostensibly, people who are the most angry about stuff, the most vocal, the most cranky, are fans who once this thing brought them joy, and now that joy has soured and turned into something poisonous. And at that, like, you gotta know when to cut bait, man. You gotta know when enough is enough, because if you got into the game for passion, for like, the love of whatever this thing was, just know that you can get out without having to get wrapped up in it. You can just say no. You can just be done with something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, a new thing coming out doesn't remove the old thing. Like,
I was just about to say that, but you went into it, so keep going.
Yeah. If you hate the sequel trilogy, that's fine. The original trilogy is still there. Like, if you really like the Marvel Infinity Saga and don't like anything that they've been doing with Phase 4, that's fine. Just stop watching for a while. Like, the movies that you liked are still there. They haven't been erased. The new stuff that's coming out, like, just, ignore it until it sounds good again. Like, there's no obligation. You don't have to do anything.
I'm a huge fan of that. I'm the biggest fan of take a break. If you're not Like, if you're not liking something, or I mean, I'm kind of doing that right now with one of the games that I'm always like that I've been playing for a while. I play the MMO Guild Wars 2. I love that game. I have a great old time with that game. But the game is in like a lull right now. So what am I doing? I switched gears. I'm like, that's there when I'll watch a couple videos or something just to keep myself informed or read a couple articles. But for the most part, I kind of just set it down. Doesn't mean I hate it. Doesn't mean I can't play this game anymore. I'm like, no. There's a whole bunch of games that are coming out this summer that I want to get into. I can set this down and take a break from this and then just move on to something else for a while. Street Fighter 6 is coming out. I haven't played a good Street Fighter since like 2008. Like, of course I'm going to get into this. Oh, Final Fantasy 16 is coming out. It's like the first Final Fantasy that I actually might legitimately play, like, for real. And, Armored Core just got announced for August. And I'm like, are you guys crazy? Why are you doing this to me?
Yep.
Like, why are you putting all of this in one spot?
We are precious few weeks away from the sequel to Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, and, I mean, there's too much. So, of course, me being the more adult person than I was 10, 15, 20 years ago, I was like, you know what? Let me just take this and just set it down and be fine. It'll be fine sitting where it is. I'll just want to set this down and I'll switch my attention to something else. No, I don't have to write a Reddit post. I don't have to comment on every video I see. I don't have to even yell into the ether. I am doing this. I don't have to announce anything. I just switch priorities. And it's that easy. And you know what? I feel good about myself because I am going to enjoy something.
Yeah.
So.
And like, I cannot emphasize this enough. There is more media than any of us can ever consume in our lifetimes.
Unless you're Dexter.
Unless you're Dexter from Dexter's Lab.
Yeah. Remember Ego Trip where his head grew so much because he consumed all the knowledge?
I guess I didn't. I was just like, are you talking about like the serial killer Dexter? Or is
No. I had a feeling you were going to go there. But
or were you talking about Dexter
dark.
Jetster, the 50s diner alien from Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones?
Oh, wow. No, not him. I forgot about him. See? Every time the internet comes around and says, hey, remember this? And I was like, I'm trying to forget. But
no one knows how to make a dorky name like George Lucas. Like, genuinely, like...
Well, you know who does? Oh, no. There are people who do. I mean, they just don't exist anymore. Like, you ever heard of Tolkien's goofiest names?
Oh, they're extremely funny. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, they exist. He's just our modern day, look what I can do.
Yeah. You could throw Nomura into the historically terrible names pile as well.
It's good. It's still good, though. So good. Anyway, I'm sorry for cutting.
Yeah. I don't remember where we were going. Were there any last pot shots that you wanted to take before we wrap our episode up?
Let's go to the last thing. What makes us cranky in spite of ourselves?
Mm-hmm. So
I'm guessing this is the part where we're not going to spend too much time on it, but we're going to say let's stick. You know what? Let's stick with films. We'll stick with films. Yeah, of things that we just can't get over and just do not like.
Yep.
Now, I know a lot of these probably I've heard a lot of this from you over the years, but your tastes have probably changed, probably most definitely changed, as of mine. But you don't hear a lot of that from me. So, I don't know if you want to go first. Let's just do two. Let's just take it to two. No, let's do three. You want to stick to 3 or 2? What's gonna be easier?
Let's do a bottom 3. Bottom 3.
Bottom 3.
Rough stuffs.
Okay.
Oh boy, like I didn't think about this ahead of time or anything.
Oh, I didn't either, which is why I was like right off the top of my head. That's why I said, hey, do you want to go first? Because you can go first, man, if you want to go first. Because I don't want to go first, but if you want to go first, you can go first because, going first is going first. So,
but is it going first?
I think it is going first.
Who's on first?
Yeah.
Third base!
We are the same brain.
So, I mean, I've already said it, but like my absolute hall of shame right now is definitely the Fantastic Beasts movie.
Yeah.
I think that they are top to bottom awful, almost without merit. I don't think that the music is good. I think a lot of the performances are strange choices that don't work. I think that the actual plots are insane, inane garbage. The most recent one, spoilers for... and the titles are the fucking worst thing that exist. They're so bad. The spoilers for Fantastic Beasts, The Secret of Dumbledore, which, spoiler, no secret of Dumbledore is revealed over the course of this movie. There was a secret of Dumbledore revealed at the end of the previous movie. Absolutely wild. But this most recent movie, the plot is that wizards elect a super president who's kind of like the head of the United Nations, I guess. But by getting a magical deer who can see the good in your heart who bows to you. And if the deer bows at you, you get elected wizard president. Which is... Do I need to explain why that's the most insane shit that I've ever said on this show? Like, that's the single craziest sentence that's been uttered thus far. Like,
so I was going to say, so far.
So far. Like, absolute madness of a plot point. But also, when this is all happening, there's like, a couple of wizard candidates and Mads Mikkelsen, who is now Grindelwald, who's taken over from two previous actors, but there's been a different actor playing the same character for 3 consecutive movies.
Mm-hmm.
He joins the race at the last minute, and everyone's just like, well, there's nothing in the rules that says a dog can't play basketball. So we guess we got to allow it. And then he has a zombie goat who's only going to bow to him. And that's his evil plan. And a zombie goat bows to him, and then he gets elected wizard president, and then he turns to everyone, and he's just like, guess what? It's genocide time, baby. And everyone in the crowd claps. And then fucking Newt Scamander shows up, and he's like, actually, it's a zombie deer. And then everyone's just like, hey, this guy's a big cheater. We're going to give the crown to this other lady. And then the other lady comes up, and she says, I'm proud to announce that we're not going to commit genocide. And then the same crowd claps with the same amount of enthusiasm because they have no opinions on anything, and they just clap with whatever the man on the podium says.
I heard this. That entire thing could have been summed up in one simple phrase. The entirety of the third movie is about voter fraud.
But also about how fucking stupid the electorate is and how they absolutely deserve to get duped.
I mean, well, but that goes into what I just said.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what I thought of it. I was like, they did not go there. Now, mind you, that's not on my list of, I can't stand this movie.
It causes me physical harm.
Yeah.
And then also...
Does it reductor your heart?
It does. And then also that movie is like what they do to the character Queenie is one of the most profound character assassinations in film that I've ever seen.
She does like a 360 100 times. She does a Tony Hawk
character.
She has a Tony Hawk, like 960 or whatever, 920 or whatever, whatever he did.
Absolute madness.
I get it. I understand.
So that's my biggest one.
Oh, okay. That is your biggest one. Okay. Okay, I don't want to talk too much about this. But Exodus Gods and Kings.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
I mean, almost from still images, I was like, I can accurately predict how this movie is going to be.
Oh. Now, I'm going to preface this. And this is coming from somebody that I have a tiny bit of a bias, but this is coming from somebody who is a believer in Jesus. So I'm going to get that out of the way right now and say that this is not just because of that. It's not just because I was like, oh, this isn't accurate or anything like. No, I'm not saying that. Because I am a big fan of the director. And I was like, oh, I heard he was doing something like this.
I'm
even
not
before
familiar
any
with the
images.
Director. Who is it?
It is Ridley Scott.
No
it's Ridley
way.
Scott.
Ridley Scott.
It's Ridley Scott. Yeah, it's Ridley Scott. And I was like, okay, even before I saw anything on it, I was like, okay, let's see what he can do. I like a lot of his stuff. Let's see what he can do.
Okay, Corey, I gotta stop you.
What?
I did 100% think that you were talking about the movie Gods of Egypt.
Oh, no. Well, that changes everything.
Gods of Egypt, directed by Ridley Scott.
That changes everything. Oh, man. Hold on a second. I gotta... Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, I'm right. Directed and produced by Ridley Scott. I thought so. Okay. And I was like... as soon as things started to come out, I was like, oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. This doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, you know what? I'm misjudging. I need to see this. I saw the trailer and I was like, the tone is kind of good, but this is weird.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll watch it anyway. And by the way, you guys already are giving like a black mark on your record because there's like the black people are all in the back. What are you guys doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like you should know better than this. This is kind of almost a given. Don't do this. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna watch it anyway. I'm gonna go see it. I didn't like Noah. Noah was trash on multiple levels, but you know what? I kind of had a good time with that. For at least a little bit. So, and it was based on like a graphic novel that I read. So I was like, okay, that's fine. This isn't based on anything. This is based on a lot of. This had many adaptations before.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay. And I still, to this day, think that the best adaptation and one of my favorite all-time movies is The Prince of Egypt. It's hands down still the best. Mm. So, I have to compare it to this, which can be good because it's live action. And it's a different, medium and everything. Okay. All right. I'm going to go see it. So I went to go see it with one of my best friends. It wasn't Doug. It wasn't Doug.
So shocked.
Yeah, but I went to go see it, and I was like, all right, this isn't bad. This isn't bad.
The words denial flashing on the screen.
Oh, yeah. I was like, this isn't.
Nobody knows.
I started to do the Pedro Pascal, laughing. I was like, at the end of the movie, I was furious. Mm-hmm. I was furious. I was like, this doesn't feel like anything. This feels like, one, it feels kind of insulting. Two, it's not even, you showed all the best stuff in the trailer. Two, the actors and how it was written was trash. Why did they pick Christian Bale as Moses is beyond me. Oh, I know why. It's because he was popular. So throw him in there. And I'm like, great. Ramses was like, he was supposed to be menacing. I thought he was hilarious the whole time. And that's not how I wanted to feel about this and everything like that. And it's just, they took, like, it's going to be like, this is going to be me coming out here, and this is my opinion. They took a lot of, like, creative liberties that I don't think they had to. Like the child's, like talking, like, in the place of God and stuff. I was like, okay, I don't necessarily like that because I don't think it's needed, but whatever. And a lot of the stuff, the movie felt super bloated. It felt severely bloated. I wasn't in it the entire time. Like, from the get-go, when it opened, I wasn't in it. I didn't care. And that's the last thing I want to feel in a movie, is not caring about anything, not caring what happens, not caring what, like, yeah, whatever. I don't feel for any of this. Like, and I know, like, it's not because I know the story already. Everybody knows the story. Like, who cares? Like, I knew it before The Prince of Egypt, and I still think that movie is super entertaining. So why do I think this one is, like, stupid? And I was like, I had to rack my brain about it. And yeah, it had a little bit of pacing issues, but pacing wasn't an issue. It was just felt uninspired. And I was like, I don't like this. I actually legitimately don't like this. Maybe not as much. I don't hate it as much as, like, the next movie that I want to say, but I really just, like, it grinded my gears when I watched that movie, because I was like, this feels so pointless.
I want to guess what your next movie is. I feel like I've got a good guess.
Uh-oh. Well, do you want me to go first, or do you want to put yours out there?
Yeah, we'll just do you again. Okay.
Okay. Okay, what is it?
Percy Jackson.
No, that's not it.
Wow.
No, that's not it.
I felt real good about that guess.
Oh, but I mean, that is a very much like a movie that I was like, poo-poo. But I didn't hate that, but I was like, ugh. But the next one I was going to say is Green Lantern, the live-action Green Lantern.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I went into that. That's one of the few times that I was this close. I was, like, very close to walking out. I've never walked out of a movie, like, ever. Yep. I was very close to walking out of that movie because I was like, this is garbage. This is straight up garbage. You guys don't give a shit, do you? No, you don't. Not even you, Ryle Reynolds. Riled Reynolds. Not even you. You don't give a shit. Oh my goodness. Nobody gave a shit in that movie. Nobody. And I was like, oh. And you guys had star talent too. That's what made it even worse. Like, and I'm like, you don't really don't care, do you? You don't care what you're doing. You don't care how anything's going. Oh, you don't care. Oh. And yeah, that made me actually angry as I was watching the movie. I think the biggest thing that made me the most angry is the main bad guy in that. I forget his name, but he had, like, a big head, and he ended up being, like, some type of parallax thing. He was screaming for 90% of the movie, and it's annoying scream. It was like, oh! And I was like, oh my god,
kind of like an Invasion of the Body Snatchers kind of.
Kill me, please. Somebody turn to me while you're watching the movie and punch me, knock me out. I can't stand this. I can't stand it. I was actually angry watching that movie. And, like, in a previous episode, like, my favorite stuff in DC is Green Lantern and Nightwing. So, of course, I was like, oh, yeah, Green Lantern. I didn't know what to expect. I saw the trailers, and it looked kind of weird, but I was like, I don't know what to expect with this. I'm just going to go in and watch it. And I got actually angry. And I was like, you guys don't care. You guys just threw stuff on the screen. Sinestro, which is one of the most, like, complex characters in that entire thing. No, straight up trash. Everything is trash in this movie. I can't stand it, and I don't want it anymore. Get it out. Get it out.
Rough stuff.
So anyway, I know you don't normally hear that much vitriol coming from my mouth, but yeah, I feel some type of way about at least those two movies. I guess there's one more. I have to think about it, but we'll go into your thing first.
Yeah. My next one is gonna be a quick one. I think I gotta give a shout out to Michael Bay's Transformers 2.
Ooh, like that's a classic.
It's popular to hate on. It's not a new thing, but like what really sends it over the top is like not just the general incompetence shown for the fundamentals of filmmaking. The movie famously was made during the writer's strike, and it really shows. But like what pushes over the edge is like, God, it's a mean-spirited movie. Like it's just unpleasant. No one likes each other. No one's happy to be there. No one has any funds. There's no friends. Everyone's just ceaselessly cruel for no reason, including the good guys, including the Autobots. Just an unpleasant experience.
Yeah. Oh, I could definitely see that.
Individual shots look good. He's a good director of photographer.
Yeah, but even that was stretching it in that movie, though. Yeah, even that was stretching it because I remember seeing that and having a bad time with that too because I was like, yeah, this is all cool, but what's the point?
Also, it's so long. It's so
that movie
long.
Is very long.
And I feel the length of it more than almost anything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's not good. It's not good at all. Don't like it.
I think it earns its reputation more than a lot of others.
Yeah. Jeez. Man, I backed myself into a corner with this because I was like, what's another movie that I know I had it in my head.
I mean, like, I assumed it was going to be The Last Airbender to
That's what it was. That's what it was. It was the last Airbender. Mm-hmm. That's what it was. Because I saw that in theater and it was supposed to be a date.
Oh,
so I saw it a long time ago. And I was like, oh, this is trash. Mm-hmm. And this is not good. So I was like, okay. But yeah, it was a bad time. It was an
uncommonly a bad adaptation across the board. It's rare to see something that so thoroughly misses the point of the source material, which I'm vocally a fan of going off book and not respecting the source material. Like I don't want just a straightforward adaptation, but like it's got kind of similar energy to like the Paul W. Anderson, W.S. Anderson, the bad Paul Anderson Resident Evil movies, where it's just like, oh, there's just like a vague Resident Evil coat of paint on like you just filming your wife doing cool karate stuff while Jill Valentine is there going like, wow, she's cool.
Yeah.
Real Poochie moment.
I know exactly.
But even then, like I feel like he's got more affection for Resident Evil than The Last Airbender does for its source material.
And M. Night has for
it earns its reputation. It's a rough one.
Yeah, I mean that one's another classically bad one, but I hate it in the fact that it's disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
You had all the money and all the clout and all the backing that you could ever want to do this, and yet you still fumbled the ball. And because it's just a movie that feels bad, man. I know what you guys are trying to do. Like, even with the bending, which is supposed to be what gets people, what puts butts in seats. That's what puts butts in seats.
Yep.
Nah, even that was just lackluster. There was only like 2 times that I was like, "Oh, that was cool." And those 2 times were only like 5 seconds long.
Like they broke the connection between cause and effect. Like it's supposed to be that I punch and then fire comes out in a punch shape, Or
Yes.
I do a big sweeping kick, and then a big sweeping fire comes out in a big sweeping kick shape. And like there's a continuity between the actions that I'm taking with the martial arts versus the output of the elemental effects. And that just doesn't happen. And that's like the thing that makes it cool.
Yeah. It was... No, I mean, like, everybody remembers the whole, like, earthbending part where, like, all those guys were, like, doing the and just, like, a little rock flies by the screen in the slowest way possible. I was like, this can't be it.
Well,
this can't be what you guys are doing.
The most damning thing is that, so the argument that I've heard is that the intention is that the stomping dance that they're doing conjures the rock wall, not the little rock that slowly floats past. But that's somehow worse because that means that, again, the continuity of the action to what's happening is so broken that there's just no one has any idea what's happening.
Yeah. Well, everything's so slow.
It's extremely slow.
That was the biggest thing that I said right out the gate. Like walking out of the theater is like, why did I feel like a slog? Like everybody was moving in molasses. Like, martial arts is supposed to be fast.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be quick. And like you said, everything is supposed to be like, you know, connected. The bending is supposed to connect to what they're doing, not be like they're supposed to do the thing, do the move or whatever, and then something happens. I'm like, no, as they're doing something, it's supposed to like happen around them. That is the point. The bending is an extension of what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And it felt like everything was just... It felt like they were doing more spells than anything. Like they were just throwing a rock spell, or, you know, they had to, like, even the firebenders, because obviously that's one thing they definitely changed. That was like the biggest thing change that I was like, oh, that was not a good plan. That was not a good choice, is making that the firebenders couldn't actually produce fire. They had to grab it from somewhere else until like the comet came over, and then they could produce their own fire. And I was like, and I think they made Uncle being able to do that even without the comet or something, because it was like a special move. And I was like, that is the wrong way to do about this. That's the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
Because it makes all the firebenders way less, it makes them way depowered, because I'm like, okay, how are these guys taking over the world?
I mean,
you have water everywhere.
It's crazy
you have
that they
air everywhere.
It's crazy that they had the superpower that they get was for them to become as powerful as they always are normally.
Yeah. And I was like, because that's the first thing I thought of, or not the first thing, but that was the thing. I was like, okay, there's earth everywhere. There's water everywhere. There's air everywhere. But you guys have to take fire from somewhere. You can't produce it yourselves. How are you terrorizing anyone else? How? Like, you know, it a lot of it didn't make any sense, and I don't know why. Like you said previously, is there are strange choices made in this movie, and there was a lot of it. Like that entire movie was strange, and I was like, I don't feel like it's not like I just don't feel anything for this, but I also am like, this feels so slow, and this feels so like the changes are too much. The changes are way too much. And I'm like, no. M. Night, I'm usually with you, but no, not this time. Yeah. No, not this time. I don't want it.
No, thank you.
Go make something else.
Okay, I'm going to go make After Earth. No, not better.
No, I know the story of... I've read Will Smith's book, and he was talking about that, and, you know, that was supposed to be Jaden's, like, breakout movie, and it ended up being Jaden's... You know, Jaden didn't even have a career, and it ruined his career before he even started. And I was like, oh, no. No!
Well, sometimes nepotism doesn't work out, so, you know.
Yep, I mean, that's literally kind of how it went. Yeah, that's literally kind of how it went, and that movie is another movie that I feel bad. As I've grown older in my age, I realize that a lot more movies, I less hate them, and I more just feel bad.
like, it's kind of hard for me to assemble a top 3, because, like, even stuff that I really don't like, it's much harder for me to have, like, a strong reaction to it these days. Because I just
but we've mellowed out, man.
I know. I let it roll off me a lot more.
Actually, I think what ended up happening is I took some of your anger and planted it into me. So
well, thank you.
That's probably So you mellowed it out, and I've gotten more critical, and we're meeting somewhere in the middle now. So
yeah,
if that makes any difference, we are very neutral men, neutral-ish men.
I believe in neutrality above all things.
Especially living things.
Especially living things. What is
this? Why are we going there? Why are we doing Resident Evil again?
It's fun. But
yeah, it is fun.
So my last one, I've got a lot of different options. I'm gonna, I think, throw it to... Well, like, there's just, like, a lot of things where it's just like, oh, this is something that I didn't like it. This is something that I
got a lot of different flavors in the Haterade stand. You can pick, metallic Transformers 2. Mm-hmm. You can pick, what's the other one you did? You could pick some magically sparkly, like,
well, it's like cotton candy flavored Fantastic Beast stuff, and it's way too sweet. Yeah. It's like cotton candy and birthday cake mixed together, and it's just like way too much.
That's too much. That's too much.
It's no good.
I know some of y'all like birthday cake stuff, but that's just too much.
It's too sweet for me.
It's too much.
Yeah.
I can't do it. Anyway, what's your third
one? I'm an adult now. Give me rye bread flavored.
Give me cement.
Or give me like death. Sophisticated palettes, like pickled onion ice cream. I'm an adult. I'm a big baby man.
I'm about to say I'm a big boy. I'm a big boy.
I love the line delivery in Over the Garden Wall with the witch who's like, I need a big strong child. That's me. I'm the big strong child.
Oh man, I gotta watch that again. I haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah, so I guess for my last one, I am going to, again, go for kind of an obvious choice with Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice.
Oh, I forgot about that movie, but I don't like that movie either. But yeah, that's an obvious one.
And the reason why I went for that is, like, there are movies that I have less fun with. You know, I've talked about the Warcraft movie and how I think that that's just an absolutely brutal slog. But like Batman v Superman, again, similar to Transformers, like it just has a mean-spiritedness that I really don't
it's straight up mean. Yeah. Well, you know what that carried over from? Or at least I believe it carried over from?
The end of Zack Snyder?
Because the end of Man of Steel, I started to feel that. And for some reason, because was Superman in anything else other than he jumped straight from Man of Steel to Batman v Superman, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so I felt like that's what I felt. But this is yours, so I apologize for.
Yeah, like they don't lay the groundwork. But like the thing that I find most frustrating is just how it feels like such a fundamental almost character assassination of basically everyone involved. Like Superman, I genuinely believe that like Superman's true superpower is that he is a genuinely good person. Like that is what makes him and the character special. And they do away with that, which just turns him into, basically Homelander, without that moral foundation, he is exactly as dangerous as everyone claims. Proving that point constantly, which isn't great. Batman kills people constantly. Seemingly doesn't have his code. Seemingly isn't conflicted about it. They provide some explanation for it, but it doesn't feel good or feel right. It feels like Zack Snyder thinking that superheroes killing people is fucking cool, and he wants to put it in his movie. And then even like Lois Lane, like I attribute as being so brash and confident and taking charge, and like she has so little to do and it matters so little, and I just plain don't like these versions of the characters. So yeah, like that movie is a bummer to me. I don't like basically any of the versions of the characters, even if like some of the actors are well suited to the role. I don't think that they're able to. I think they are led astray by the script and the tone. I think it's a fairly ugly movie, and it just kind of top to bottom
dark.
bums me out.
It's dark. I can't see shit.
Yeah.
Can't see shit, Captain.
I will
it's
say
very dark.
That was the debut of the Wonder Woman theme song, and it does slap. So.
Oh yeah, that.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But she comes in at the end, and that doesn't count. So.
Yeah, and then someone pulls out an iPad and watches the trailer for Zack Snyder's Justice League at the end of the movie. It's so stupid.
Yeah, literally.
So
but yeah, it's. I agree. I can see that, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that movie, like, you're absolutely right that movie is definitely like an assassination of everything. It's just, nobody acts how they should act. Which is why I always say that, because I'm a fan of Superman. I like Superman stuff, but I like it when he's acting like Superman, which is why Superman and Lois, the CW show, is so good, because he's goofy in that. He's like a dad. He's like making dad jokes. He's like awkward, even with his own family and everything. I'm like, but you could tell he's genuinely just a farm boy. Like, he just acts how he acts. And I'm like, that's such a breath of fresh air. That's Superman right there.
Yeah.
He's just a goofball, but he's like a Boy Scout goofball that just happens to be like super powerful and everything, and generally wants to do, like you said, the right thing, or the good thing, or what he believes is right, and he doesn't want to hurt anybody. Like,
I needed to read All-Star Superman and Superman Red Sun in order to like truly get the character. And like,
All-Star Superman is genuinely, I think, one of the best modern portrayals of Superman.
It's fantastic. It's genuinely excellent.
You read it. You didn't? Did you see the movie? Did you see like the animated movie?
No, I'm aware that they adapted it, but I honestly haven't really been a big fan of any of their adaptations. I like their original stuff, but like I generally prefer the page.
Okay, that's fine.
The art direction doesn't survive the transition, in my opinion.
Okay, yeah, I was just asking. But yeah, All-Star Superman is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think that might be the end.
I think that's gotta be. This is intended to be an outlier. I don't think that we're going to get super negative in the future. Like, I'm happy to have this be a one-off, and then to just kind of quarantine it here. Like, I like being positive about stuff. I like seeing the good in things, and I like engaging with things that I like. So if something really egregious comes up, I'm probably just not gonna deal with it. I'll just ignore it. It's fine.
Yeah. Who knew that was an option?
Yeah. You could do it the whole time.
Yeah. I think we definitely like switched a couple of like over the years we took a couple of brain cells out of our brains, and we just
end of sentence. That's what we did. We removed some brain cells, period. That's what we did.
We took them out and we ate them.
Yep.
So we digested them, and then yes. But I think we exchanged a little bit of perspectives over the years, and now we kind of, like I said, we leveled out a little bit and everything like that. Because I've always had that feeling, but it's definitely leveled out. But that's good. So anyway, but enough about that.
Yeah. I'm glad that I'm not the negative Nancy that I was in college.
No, I am too, buddy. Yeah. I am too. Because a couple of times I wanted to choke you out, but I decided not to because that is not my nature.
Do you know what else I'm glad about, Corey? I'm glad about our lovely listeners leaving questions, comments, or suggestions for a topic episode at halftonetakes@gmail.com.
You beat me to it. You beat me to it.
You snooze, you lose.
Lame.
If you've enjoyed listening to me dunk on Corey, please give us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, or wherever else podcasts are rated. In the meantime, I'm Adam Bucheri. I'm an animator and game designer. If you want, you can find my tabletop games. And now my first ever video game. It's not very good, but it's I'm proud of it. It's a good milestone for me. Doesn't matter. But you can find my stuff at Boo Cherry. That's Boo Like Ghost, Cherry Like Fruit, .itch.io.
Tasty. And I have been Corey Revis, an illustrator and comic creator. You can find me on Instagram at EARTHUR_1. That is Earther1. That's all you can find me on. I am updating my webcomic. I will put the links on my Instagram page when it happens, so you can check that out.
Yeah, please do. And with that, it is time for us to wind down. So everyone out there in podcast land, y'all take care of yourself now, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
This is gonna. I was gonna say this is gonna get
it's
real
not gonna
weird,
get real
quick. But you didn't go as weird as I thought you were.
I was just doing like a Mr. New Vegas kind of thing. But if you want, we can.
Oh, I thought you were gonna start getting to like that sexy like night voice, and I'll be like, oh boy, I don't know if this was a good plan to do. I feel
sexy
silly and unusual.
Podcast reviews. Give us 5 stars, baby. Yeah. See ya.
Okay, bye. See ya.
Corey, I want to tell you that this is the first time I'm recording since the weather has turned nice. It is so fucking hot in here. I have been sweating bullets for an hour straight. I am drenched.
I thought you were going to say, I'm sweating my balls off.